Ooh, quick little patch.
When I was 15, the thought of an apocalypse never troubled me.
Okay, so let's start with getting Yuzuka, I guess. 131 pulls. Guaranteed DNA T3. And I missed about like 7, maybe? Maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more. Pulls. 121. $124. Okay. Oh, my heart rate is rising. Gambling addiction is real, my dudes. Let's win 50-50. 43, so it's actually 3 more than red shot and I'll get the thing that I want, but not necessarily the thing I actually want. Ooh. Wait, do I have it maxed?
You need my help.
Oh well.
Not just trials, battle stuff. Go take and join simple stuff. Even when it's getting rough, take it easy, having fun is just enough. Yeah, the shining golden signs. Let your inner.
Well, 50 more. Go to recycle once again. question. Oh. My bad. It's clicked. Okay. Lock. And last one also lock. Ah. Hmm. So it is there. It just don't show up as new anymore. Hmm. At least 2 A's. Come on. Ja. Wow. Okay.
Tinga da. Don da don don da. Don don wana.
I mean, the fuck do I do now?
Need a fortune telling?
Did you call me? Yeah.
No.
I'll help you win. The lunch is on you.
Honestly, that's unexpected.
Have a cup of coffee to jumpstart your day.
Well. It's good to know that Eugene's original voice actress is back. It's really unfortunate that what that probably means is that she doesn't really have good health care. That's really fucking annoying. There we go. Primer. Roxy Legend. On 12 15 gold drive disc. Which internal rotation legendary proxy. Had to simulate a battle trial and clear floor 10 of Oh, 10 is the last one. Come on. Tactics. In action. Oh. Oh. I can't even change my costume. It seems. No issues.
The idea is pretty clear here. Just how absolutely abysmal this is for performance.
What's up guys, CJ here. Now, in my last video on this topic, I mentioned that, so unless anything new comes out that I think I can bring my unique perspective to, I'm gonna put Pirate Software behind me and just keep moving forward. One of Thor's criticisms of that video, when he wasn't busy trying to smear me as a grifter...
It's just another, like, YouTube grifter trying to fight for relevance, dude. That's all that shit is.
Despite the fact that my channel has been consistent for the past 5 years, is that I wasn't specific enough.
You can review languages, many concepts are transferable. Concepts can be transferable, but specifics are not, and that's the problem.
Today's video sponsor is me. I built this platform called getcracked.io, and so I figured maybe I can look for new information that I can bring my unique perspective to. Other creators, including myself, have covered the code snippets that he has shared publicly on stream, and so I thought to myself, wouldn't it be nice if I can address Thor's critique by finding code that he's written off stream to really get into the details? So I decided to scour Pirate's website on the Wayback Machine and noticed that he actually included his source code resources as early as 2018. Just to be clear, these are the resources for his demo version of Heartbound. I was able to extract the code that he's written using data.win and the Undertale mod tools, and I'd like to focus on that for today's code review. Now, I know that a lot of people might be thinking, why are you doing a review on old code? Well, I decided to compare that 2018 version of the code that Thor himself distributed with the code available in the demo version of Heartbound, and at least at the places that I found major issues, there wasn't.
Okay, when there is at least 2 Spoke characters in your squad, a character touches a spectral bubble, HP covered increases by 20%. Ah, yes. So that's the upgrade of this one. Aww.
I got plenty of new ideas. Let's try 'em out on you.
Says me. Okay, I'm getting more of her.
Need a fortune telling?
But first I'm gonna check that I'm actually correct. Yes, yeah. Okay, game 8, maybe you're correct on her. Rarity, additional ability, user however is and no, you don't give me a key.
Any difference. Now, I also want to stress that this video is going to be made in line with my own values as a developer. That being that we are reviewing mistakes so that others can learn from them. And in doing so, I will be providing alternative solutions. That doesn't mean that my solutions are the best improvement that can be made or a silver bullet that can apply in every scenario. But it will give you an idea for a general direction that you might want to take your own project in case you encounter similar issues throughout your development. Now, I'm going to be categorizing issues in this review based off their priority or severity.
It also does what I wanted to do, which is wow. 4 bang boots.
Hey, Proxy, have you hit a roadblock?
Yay.
I got plenty of new ideas. Let's try them out on EOS one by one. I got plenty of new ideas. Let's try them out on EOS one by one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Alright, you guys. Hmm.
Need anything modded? You know where to find me. I got plenty of new ideas. Let's try them out on EOS one by one. I got plenty of new ideas. Let's try them out on EOS one by one.
So we're going to be starting with large or major issues, then going to medium or intermediate issues, and then ending off with small or minor issues. So let's get into it. I want to start by observing his lighting engine by taking a look at the file draw light. Let's take a look at this draw light method and hone in on the first case statement. Let's break down at a high level what's going on here. Thor loops over every pixel in a sprite, checking if each pixel touches or overlaps with a certain object. If it does, it then applies a light effect repeatedly, and with each repeat, it makes that light fade more diffuse. He then draws said colored pixels at that location to simulate the light fall off. Now, let's say your sprite is 128 by 128 pixels. That's 16,384 position checks he's doing per frame per light source. If he has multiple light sources or is trying to run at 60 FPS, you will feel the lag. Now, he actually checks collisions twice for each pixel, and he doesn't have any early exit should his second instance of that check not execute. If light diffuse is 5, it's possible that he does an additional 4 iterations that returns false every single time. In the case that we have the exact same 128 by 128 pixel sprite, that is not just 16,384 checks. That's 98,304 checks at worst. What's worse is if you observe the second case, where light comes from the right instead of the left, you'll notice that Thor copied and pasted the entire left code into the right code's case, only changing the signage of light distance. What he could have done here is handled both right and left in the same case and simply applied the signage to light distance based off the direction of the light, and also applied the direction in which we iterate in the for loop differently based off that same signage.
No, there first.
How do we improve upon the code here? Well, we really don't. We throw it out in favor of layers, surfaces, and shaders. I decided to bring on a game dev who has years of experience in GameMaker, working not only on his own hobby projects, but also as a contractor for a studio in order to explain this fundamental concept.
I'll just draw a little diagram. This is basically how his code works. Is he has a sprite that basically looks something like this. This is sort of like a beam shape, kind of what you'd expect from like a beam of light. For every pixel in the sprite, so each one of these is a pixel. It's basically going in the draw event and doing a collision check at like each pixel. And it's basically checking and checking and checking, and if the pixel is on the sprite, it'll draw it. This is the starting point over here, and the farther away the pixel is from the starting point, it like blends it differently, and that'll create some kind of gradients. But yeah, this is a terrible way of doing it. I drew, what, like 5 pixels here? This is like super scaled up. A sprite like this would be like hundreds and hundreds of pixels. And to check each of them on the X and the Y like coordinates, like every single frame for every single like object doing this is gonna be like abysmal for performance. The way that I had suggested would be better is you have the sprite, same one, and also any other sprites you want to do this with. So keep in mind, if you're using this system, every single other object, like a light beam or whatever, is going to have to run this code, like, independently of each other. With this method, all the objects at once, say you just have some random other objects over here that you also wanted to be light sources or something, I guess. All of them at once draw themselves onto a surface. The surface is basically a picture almost, just made of pixels. You can make them any size you want, but in this case, all we'd have to do is make the surface the size of the camera. This would basically just be starting point, wherever the camera is in the room, right here. And these are all the objects that the camera would be seeing. We would just create a white surface, basically, just a surface that is just completely opaque, and these objects will draw themselves onto this surface, and before they do that, they'll set their GP.
All right, I'll take the mic.
Hit him where it hurts.
Don't underestimate me.
Heads up. Oops, sorry. Find your weakness. No escape. Now, you're the prey.
Just this once. Who dares get between me and Lord Satan?
This seems interesting. It definitely just says which things can be parried and which can't. Okay, let's see. Combat. Let's think about this nice and hard. Fire, physical. Nice electric.
Man is iron, rice is steel. I make a mean chitlins meal.
Foo-foo's here.
Maybe go
We
like
fighting?
this
Take me.
instead, obvious. Except obviously, this needs to be modified to the max, or as close to the max as possible. Oh, it's probably possible to get to the max. Oh. Nope. Nope. Let's go there.
Stickily.
To really reinforce why this is
Labubu dolls have become one of those insane fads that takes the internet by storm for an incredibly intense and hectic period, only to sit within landfill a year later.
What the fuck is that?
First, the Epstein files were on Pam Boddy's desk, then they didn't exist, then they were written by the Democrats, now they're just plain old boring. You don't want to see what's in there.
It's pretty boring stuff. It's sorted, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say, let them have it.
So there you hear it. Now, to some of you, the copium's going to set in. You're going to say, hey, he said the credible information, we can release it. We should release it, and we'll talk about that. But they also say in the same interview, we already released the credible information.
And the credible information's been given.
So if it's already been given, they're not going to give you more stuff. Now, funny enough, the guy next to Trump looking on and laughing as Trump says this is a big nothing burger. The only people who would deal in this kind of talk are fake news. That is Epstein's neighbor. That is Howard Lutnick, who has a house that was next to Epstein's place. You can see him laughing here. It's even been reported that Howard Lutnick's place actually literally touches Jeffrey Epstein's house. That's how close their two houses are together. That's the same guy laughing at a statement by the president that Jeffrey Epstein is boring and there's no reason to look into him, and if you do, you're a bad person.
Really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going.
I almost don't have words for this, to be calling it boring, to be talking about one of the world's largest predators of all time and trying to figure out who the powerful people are who are connected with this guy, especially when the former neighbor of said predator is standing there laughing as you say that everyone interested in this case is somehow fake news or a bad person. You can see this both in property records and in public press statements at the time about Epstein's Manhattan townhouse, saying that Howard Lutnick of Cantor Fitzgerald bought the adjacent smaller townhouse owned by Lex Wexner. That's one of Epstein's famous benefactors, and in fact, Epstein owned the house that later got sold to Howard Lutnick. You can see he owns the trust that owned this house. Later, of course, it goes to Comet Trust and then to Howard Lutnick. Supposedly, the property was sold for $10 in cash value and some other equivalent things. We don't know how much, just to be clear, so maybe it was a fair value price. And maybe they don't know each other. I want to be clear that Howard Lutnick denies knowing Jeffrey Epstein or being associated, so we have to get that in there. But the optics of this are just completely insane, and anyone who's paying attention should not expect any further disclosures from the FBI, DOJ, despite the fact that Trump is sort of about facing on this and saying, well, we can give over the legitimate files. But as we just showed, the legitimate files, they're claiming they've already put out. Here's Donald Trump saying that the Epstein files once again are a hoax, but he also says that they can be released if credible.
And in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen, and I would say that, you know, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well. And it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
So that's the second time now he's pushed it off on his attorney general to now handle. But I just don't think this is meaningful because, like I said, they've already said they've given us the credible information already. I think basically they're going to kill it from here. That's my guess, especially since we did get a word from Pam Bondi about this when asked. She basically said we're just going to defer to the memo.
Would release credible files related to Mr. Epstein. Are you prepared to do that, and when would you do it?
Our memo today, our memo speaks for itself, and we'll get back to you on anything else. I haven't seen all of his statements today.
So I think that shows pretty clearly that they're going to just continue barreling down this path while giving people a bone as far as making it seem like they might release something. This is a common smokescreen that we see. Where they will kind of bait people like, maybe we'll release something, maybe we'll release something, maybe, and then every like 12 months or something, they release something of complete non-importance. The problem is when people like this control the files, anything but a full release besides the CSAM and victims' names is not going to do it. You have to, the only way to do something like this is to release all of the files, except for those small categories. That's the only way to build back trust. But clearly that's not what's going to happen. And anyone who's paying the slightest bit of attention to what our leaders are actually saying, they are absolutely telling you they're not going to do it. They're all deferring to each other. Trump's deferring to Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi's deferring to the memo. And ultimately, no one is going to be held accountable. Now, there have been some political games played with this, with the Democrats trying to get the Epstein files released, and this was actually blocked by people in Congress, which is just so mind-blowing to me that people would actually say no to releasing this, but they did.
Saying aye? Aye. Those opposed say no? No. In the opinion, Chair, the noes have it. The amendment's not agreed to.
Chair, I'm kind of shocked by that. I will ask for a roll call.
5 yeas, 7 nays. The amendment is not agreed to, and I think most of us believe what's appropriate will be released when it is time for the president to release it. Thank you.
So there you see it. We're just supposed to blindly trust that they're going to release it. Honestly, I have no faith in any of this. I think this is all political theater. Honestly, the people who are like, oh, look, it's just the Republicans. I mean, we could have released this a long time ago. To be honest, I don't trust any of these people until I see actual documents released. I believe this is all theater. I don't actually believe they're going to get this done. I think they could have been doing this from the very beginning. And truth be told, we've seen our government protect Jeffrey Epstein for over a decade. This didn't start in 2019 when he died. This has been going on since the early 2000s from his first plea deal where he got a non-prosecution agreement. I mean, we have been protecting this guy. Powerful people have been protecting him for years upon years upon years, and it crosses party lines. So while, yeah, I guess it's cool that we're like making little votes like this and we get to see like people actually put the words out there like I'm not gonna force the release because they'll tell us when they feel like it so we can see the despicableness firsthand. I don't actually believe that politicians are gonna be the one to open this case wide open. I think it's going to be either a leaker, a hacker, somebody who is just like willing to YOLO on this that will actually meaningfully move this case forward. I haven't seen any evidence that there is political will besides dunking on your political opponent to actually do anything. Because that's all we've really seen so far is people hit each other with the old like, you're involved with Epstein. And then you go, whoa, hey, can you release the files? And they always say, well, we'd sure love love to, but actually, no, we can't. Now, that might sound a little doomer. I won't blame you if you get excited about the possible release of the Epstein files, but I just feel like we've been down this road before with people promising to, expose the deep state, expose the guys in power. In fact, ironically, that's the story of how we got here now, is the Trump administration was dunking on their political opponents for years, saying that, they're secretly involved with Epstein, until it was time to release the files, and then now, yeah, it was made by the Democrats. So that's where we're gonna leave it. They're literally laughing at us. They're calling it boring. They're saying nothing to see here. While both people on the screen were somehow involved or linked to Jeffrey Epstein, it's beyond belief, honestly. And yeah, this is gonna be the last time I talk about Jeffrey Epstein.
Obliterate form and spirit. As decreed. Yin and yang converge. Your life ends here.
Exclusive recipe made just for you!
Oh well.
The brand new developers discussion for version 5.8 is here, and it might be the worst and most empty batch of quality of life improvements that we have ever had. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character so you don't have to. I originally considered that as my intro, but who feels compelled to build every single character? I feel like you already didn't have to. I was just doing it to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. But now I'm considering again. Anyways, let me know what you think. I think I'm leaning towards the original still. Okay, developer discussion. One-click time skip for quests, character talent demo videos added. Dear Traveler, as new developers discussion is here. Starting from version 5.8, the dev team has brought new features such as one-click time skip for quests and video demos for character talents, making it easier for travelers to complete quests and gain a clear understanding of character talents. We've also made a series of optimizations to the quest interface, world exploration, and artifacts. Let's dive in and take a look. So I'll be real with you. I already looked through it, and it didn't look good at all. I didn't read it really carefully, so we're gonna hope that we find something good in here. But after my quick read through, my guess is that they're saving everything good for 6.0, which I guess that makes sense, but it's gonna make this really boring. But let's complain about it regardless, because there's so many things. I'll go through my list of things that I want to see at the end. I have a Google Doc where I keep all the things that I wanted to see changed. Dear Traveler, this is already the thing they read. Quests. Ready, set, go. Jump straight to the quest's required time with one click. Wait until 8 to 12 the next day, open the clock, adjust the pointer, oops, off by a few minutes, not anymore. Starting in version 5.8, you can simply click to navigate to quest objective, automatically jump to the required quest time. Hey, I mean, that's great. It was a little bit weird always. It always felt a little bit weird. This is nice. It's certainly not a headlining feature of a quality of life update, but it's nice. Quest spans more than 2 days, just click to navigate again to keep auto advancing the target time. I mean, that's one solution, or you could have just let it go more than 2 days, but hey, you know what? It's fine. It really doesn't usually spend more than 2 days, whatever. Flexible adjustments, audio settings, shortcut added to dialogue interface. Oh no, I forgot to enable voiceover before entering the quest dialogue. Now I can only hear the music, but not the characters talking. Don't worry, after the version 5.8 update, you'll be able to access audio settings during quest.
Okay, What's my bonus? Coin combat areas have 40 chance. Coin combat, so I go to the left. No, that doesn't make any sense. Where would I... What? It just fucking skips one area.
Dialogues, so you can adjust the volume balance anytime. That's kind of okay. You know what happens to me though? I have it set to Japanese because it annoys me when the English they say the same lines that are annoying over and over, but it's in Japanese. I don't understand what they're saying, so I don't get as annoyed by it. But I do like to play the quests in English, provided that they're all voiced. Currently, I've been playing them in Japanese anyways, but I digress. When they're all back to being voiced, I would like to be able to switch the language while we're in the middle of it. That's what I would like, but this is fine too, I guess. It's not, it's fine. That's, I mean, that's good. That's fine. It's fine. I mean, it should be like that. You know what I thought though? What I thought when they said one-click time skip for quests, I thought that they were adding a skip button to quests. That's what I thought they were gonna add, and then I got pretty disappointed when it was the time skip, not the skip button. But for the record, I don't really think I need a skip button. Maybe for the really boring quests. There are definitely some boring quests, but mostly for the people, either for people who play multiple accounts, or maybe events that I don't care about, or just for people who don't care about the story, let them skip. That's what I think. World exploration, material tracking, local specialty spotters, gather around. With so many companions, it's getting hard to remember who can help track down local specialties. Sounds like a skill issue. Good news. In the new version, the material tracking interface will display character icons for those who can detect local specialties in the region. Go check to see which companion can lend a hand. This is kind of cool. I used to forget. I know them all super well now, but I used to forget. How about you guys add a free-to-play one for Sumeru? I was recently exploring Sumeru, and only Tignari can do it, and some people don't have it. Oh, also a free-to-play one for Fontaine. Actually, maybe Sumeru does have a free-to-play one, but Fontaine doesn't. It's only Linny and someone else. It's only like limited 5-star. So how about you get on that and add one for Fontaine? Oculus Resonance Stone upgrade, more flexibility in collecting oculi. Starting in version 5.8, if you've already marked one Oculus location, you can consume another Oculus Resonance Stone to mark a new one. The new location will replace the previous mark. The fact that it replaces the previous mark makes this just straight up bad. So it's just a waste of Oculus Resonance Stones, just fine. Like, it should just mark 2. Artifact. At a glance, special markers added for character compatible artifacts. When I saw that they made artifact enhancements, I was hoping that they fixed the loadouts so they'd have a save button, but instead, to help travelers select suitable artifacts for their characters more easily, after the version 5.8 update, when a fully leveled 5-star artifact has a highlighted main affix and a certain number of highlighted minor affixes, including enhanced ones, will be marked with a special icon in the character to artifact. Artifacts menu. This feature can be disabled in the system settings. Very interesting. I'll have to see how this works. It feels like they think that people are really bad at using artifacts, and they're like, so many people have unoptimal artifacts on their characters, and we need to help them really badly, and not the knowledgeable players, like the real scrub players. And I'm all for helping real scrub players, especially ones who don't want to look at guides and look up guides. I'm all for helping that. That's good. Will this help? I don't know. I hope so. We'll see what it's like. We'll see if it's any good when it comes out. Test run and character talents combat talent demos activated for new characters. See each skill in action. Video previews make everything clearer. Talent descriptions not intuitive enough? Want to get a quick grasp of skill and mechanics, but find the text a bit overwhelming? they're adding video guides so you don't need my guide. No, no, this is good. Starting in the new version, travelers can quickly view combat talent demos for characters released in version 5.7 and later in the camera, in the test interface, blah blah blah. And so you can, instead of it just being a thing, you can actually see Skirk doing the thing that they're talking about her doing with the skill. So hey, I mean, that's cool. I think that's good. That's a good change. I don't have any thoughts other than that looks good to me. And that brings the end. So all in all, I feel like it's pretty light. I feel like that's pretty light, pretty, I don't want to say lazy, but I kind of do want to say lazy. I have my list. My list might not be for everyone. This is for me. This is my list. My list is to make the Stygian Onslaught bosses less restrictive for teams that are not good against them. This is not something that they would put into developer discussion notes, but that's on my list for suggestions. Allow us to toggle constellations on and off for testing purposes, and certain gameplay changes such as Bennett C6, Candace C6, which limit some team building opportunities. Please fix the artifact loadouts so we can save our own presets. Please buff old or bad characters like Raiden, Venti, Zhongli, and bad ones like Yuemiya and Sino. It's not very well worded, but you get it. Please fix the 4-star problem. It's really hard to get 4 stars to the C6 of ones you want. I'll just be more descriptive. Pity system, adding all to the Star Glitter shop. Fate point system, prioritize new 4 stars over duplicates. That would be good. Allow us to farm talent materials and weapon materials every day. Rerun characters much faster so new players don't have to wait a year or more. That's what I have on here. I think that those are pretty reasonable and they should add those and fix those. And once they did, I'd probably have new ideas. It seems like everyone's pretty mad. Does anyone have any other suggestions that I should add? Is this bait? No 240 FPS option. Don't we not even have like 180 or whatever the higher one is? We'll add this. I talked about the skip button. Add a skip button. So skip button. Yeah, I thought it said skip button too, buddy. Yeah, everyone's just pissed. So there you go. Hey, I mean, 6.0 is coming. Surely we'll get better quality of life next time because 6.0 is coming, right? Overall, like, again, in case this is your first time to the channel, Genshin Impact's my favorite game. I don't make a habit of hating on the game, but when there's criticism to be made, I make criticism. So I don't hate for the sake of it. This is just a fact that they kind of just really phoned it in for this one. So, you know, we call them out, and that's how it be. Let me know your thoughts. Subscribe if you want to see more. If you don't want to do that, it's totally fine. Just watching the video has been more than enough. Thanks so much. Bye for now.
My blade is already sheathed.
Can be very difficult or very easy, actually. It can be one of those two things, and it all depends on the kind of person you are. See, if you make a mistake on something, do you A, take accountability for that mistake, apologize, explain yourself, and then do your best for your community moving forward, or do you double down, triple down, quadruple down on your mistake, don't apologize at all, continually ban your actual viewers who support you, and then tell them to A, eat your whole... I mean, the choice is pretty simple if you ask me, but apparently for Pirate Software, he's making the wrong call directly because Stop Killing Games has been gaining massive momentum, especially after he directly admitted that he was going to do whatever he could to actually stop this from happening. But at the time of this recording right now, the Stop Killing Games initiative is incredibly close to the 1.4 million signatures for this to be successful. And just like we said last time with a recycled joke, Ludwig, take it away.
Let's up those numbers!
That's right, if you live in the EU and have not signed the SKG form yet, please do so in the pinned comment below, because it is incredibly important that we find a way to keep our actual ownership of the video games we purchase directly for us as consumers. These companies and corporations are doing everything they possibly can to remove any sense of ownership from you directly. In fact, a perfect example of that is the fact that Ubisoft literally tweeted this out a few days ago. At Ubisoft Support, the verified account, saying this: "We've seen recent reports about Ubisoft's end user license agreement, or the EULA, focusing on a clause related to what happens when a license ends. Thanks for raising this issue. As noted in some articles, this clause is not new. It has been part of our EULA for more than 10 years. It was originally designed as a formal legal provision to clarify that once a license ends, the user no longer has rights to access or use the product." We understand that the language in the clause may sound unusually strong or out of step with how players experience and value their games, and are reviewing this clause as part of our ongoing efforts to ensure our policies reflect players' expectations and the evolving nature of our industry. Oh, and to make matters even worse, they locked who could actually reply to the tweet, but don't worry, the quote ratios are really just man. Ubisoft is getting this beating the quote retweets. I'm just saying that right now. Think about it from that perspective. Ubisoft, the company that is in a legal battle because they want to take down the actual usage or ownership of the game The Crew, is telling you directly, hey, when this license ends, you shouldn't even have access to the video game you gave us money for in the first place. They are literally doing the thing that Stop Killing Games wants to prevent. If you give a company money and you've already bought the game, the transaction should be complete on that end. There should be no more control over what you can and cannot do with that product. That license should be yours. That ownership should be yours. And the fact that Pirate Software continually misrepresented exactly what SKG is and has done everything he possibly could to bring this initiative down goes to show that he was in fact in the wrong. But instead of just admitting it, the guy doubles down, triples down, and quadruples down as he continues to show that his ego literally knows no bounds. And it's really crazy because it's almost as if he's on the side of the actual lobbyists against Stop Killing Games. Dexerto tweeted this out on July 5th during the Anthem shutdown, saying this: "Europe's largest video game lobby spoke out against Stop Killing Games, saying it made game development too expensive. The lobby board has members of EA, Ubisoft, Activision, and several other publishers who have permanently killed games." That Ubisoft tweet we talked about, they are on the actual board against Stop Killing Games for Europe's largest video game lobby, trying to stop SKG from going forward. They're the ones saying game dev is too expensive, but they're the ones spending hundreds of millions of dollars to make the same exact game over and over again. They want to charge you $70 or $80 per game every single time. What are they talking about? It's too expensive? Oh, giving us an offline mode is too much? It's really crazy to me how all of a sudden adding an offline mode to a video game is an exponential cost in game development. But you know what? This is of course coming from the same industry that doesn't even know how to optimize their game engines for UE5 and modern hardware. No, the solution is not get better hardware, Todd Howard. No, you did not go ahead and optimize your game at all. And no, 30 FPS is in fact not playable. But as you can see, even though there are direct people who are against the SKG initiative, it turns out there may be a shining light in the beacon. Because as Dexerto also tweeted this out a few days prior, it turns out people in the European Parliament are now taking notice. Nikolai Stefanuta, a vice president of the European Parliament, has voiced his full support for Stop Killing Games. He signed the petition himself and urged other Europeans to do the same. Now, Nikolai is a Romanian politician that is part of the European Parliament, and the fact that he's gone through and directly pointed out why SKG is important and even signed the petition himself shows that even in the political sphere, where people really wouldn't care about video games, they're actively going to promote this because it is a direct consumer issue that is happening. This not only applies to video games, but all digital consumer goods in the future. As the gaming industry continues to move into an all-digital space, video games are becoming more and more apparent that we will own nothing and, of course, be happy about it. Well, not so happy, actually. And I know people are really tired of that line, "Oh, you use it all the time," because it's true. Not owning the thing you're paying for isn't really the way things should be. If I gave you my real money and you gave me a fake non-existent product, then what are we actually doing here? It's basically theft. Giving me access to a license temporarily that you can then revoke at any particular time is really wild to me because I can't revoke that $80 I gave to you as a video game corporation, now can I? If I could do that, we'd be in a whole different conversation, but apparently we can't. But Nicola isn't the only person signing off on SKG. It turns out that Accursed Farm tweeted this out yesterday as well. There's a report of another MEP supporting Stop Killing Games, Kathleen Van Brent. The more, the better. Translation below to an actual Reddit link. Now, Kathleen is a Belgian politician, and in fact, Reddit has gotten a translation after getting an email from her directly. Here's what it reads. Thank you for your message and for bringing the European Citizens Initiative of Stop Destroying Video Games to our attention. Your question touches on a fundamental issue in the digital age. What does ownership even mean when digital products can simply disappear? Today, millions of European citizens buy their video games digitally, yet they often remain dependent on publisher servers or support to maintain access to the game or additional in-game items they paid for. When this support is discontinued, the product disappears without compensation, without an alternative. This is unfair, unsustainable, and contrary to consumer expectations when making a purchase. Your concern is therefore entirely justified. Losing access to a purchased game or content is not only a consumer problem, but also a threat to digital sustainability. We therefore support the call for regulations that oblige publishers to leave video games in a usable state after support ends, for example, by offering an offline mode or providing a clear end-of-life plan. Ending support should not automatically mean the end of the fund or the right of access for those who paid for it. Therefore, I will share your concerns with my colleagues on the Consumer Protection Committee in the European Parliament. Digital products like physical goods must be treated with respect as something that endures, not simply disappears. Sincerely, Kathleen Von Brempt. This, in my opinion, is absolutely catastrophically massive because it shows that politicians are understanding exactly what the Stop Killing Games initiative is trying to do. Basically provide proper consumer protections for you, the gamer, the most oppressed class of all classes. You know? It's true. The thing is, though, that so many companies right now are treating digital products as just things that we tangibly do not have access to once that license ends. And game companies have taken advantage of that incessantly and consistently over and over again. And the thing is, the fact that right now we're seeing about 80% of all games being purchased are in fact done digitally. So when those games no longer have access to it, that money you spent is gone. That access you have to that game is gone. And as you can see from companies like Ubisoft being on the lobbyist board against SKG and actively saying you shouldn't have access to that game once a license is over, even though you gave us some money for it, really flies in the face of exactly what Pirate Software has been talking about, as he mischaracterized, misrepresented, and provided nothing but misinformation about SKG during its entire beginning life cycle. And this goes right back to the beginning of what I talked about in the video concerning accountability. Pirate Software is not single-handedly responsible for SKG having a very difficult time early on. However, though, the fact that he is denying any responsibility whatsoever really flies in the face of what is happening. The guy tried to put out a tweet saying that he wasn't responsible while using a graph from Reddit, when that same person went ahead and fixed the graph afterwards, showcasing he was directly responsible for having a massive decrease in Stop Killing Games and promoting it altogether. In fact, he even said he's taking his mask off and doing whatever he could to stop SKG from even happening.
Oh shit, this is actually really dumb. It's used car salesman garbage. This is Not only do I not want to back this, I'm going to actively tell people not to. That is awful. That is a horrible goddamn direction. That's awful, dude. No, eat my entire ass. The level of stupid that I just had to receive was like sitting on Twitter for 12 hours. This sucks. That's a really stupid ass move. That's an incredibly stupid ass move. I think this is ass. This is complete garbage. All of this can eat that. I dropped the mask entirely. I have no qualms about that. They can eat my entire ass. The whole thing. That sounds stupid as shit.
In fact, it got so bad that Notch, the creator of Minecraft, went ahead and tweeted this out. Hey guys, just got back to gaming after a brief break. Wait, why is there a Nepo baby doubling down over there? With Daniel something finding the tweet and quoting it saying this: Minecraft creator Notch has made fun of Pirate Software for the streamer's ridiculous stance against the Stop Killing Games initiative. And Notch replied, just verifying that yes, that is what I was talking about. If buying a game is not a purchase, then pirating them is not theft. So not only do we have members of the European Parliament now understanding what is going on with SKG and the initiative and why it's so important, not only do we have creators of Minecraft like Notch calling out Pirate Software saying, hey, you clown, you moron, you idiot, why are you going against the very thing that people literally want to have for their games to properly have good ownership? In fact, Pirate Software has been on record in his own shorts talking about why piracy is in fact not a real problem and how it can easily be solved. I mean, take a look.
You think Steam should improve their default DRM? Not really. Dude, people are going to crack your game. That's going to happen. The only thing that I haven't harp on is a one-line check to see if you're running it through Steam, even in offline. I've tried some silly ways, like the Champions of Breakfast. It was an achievement system for that. But like at the end of the day, piracy isn't an issue that you can stop. Piracy is a service issue more than anything else. So it's an issue of, is your game too expensive or is your game unavailable? That's mostly why people pirate. So if you're really worried about piracy, make your game cheap. Shit goes away real fast. Isn't Denobo defeating piracy overall? Yeah, and performance.
And with that clip, this is exactly what the issue is. People criticizing Pirate Software have every single right to do so. It's almost as if the entire time he's been wearing an actual mask and not providing who he actually is. But now everybody's apparently seeing it, and the numbers are not going in Pirate Software's way. You see, according to Twitch Tracker right now, Pirate Software, as of this moment in time, has lost over 25,000 followers since this entire debacle, in fact, began for him. We're seeing a 17% decrease in his average viewers overall from each of his streams. We're also seeing a decrease of his concurrent peak viewers. And what's even crazier is Twitch Tracker is able to give us the exact moment where everything has begun to fall apart for Pirate Software on his streams directly. Now that graph does look pretty dramatic because ever since February, you can see a massive sharp decline in followers gained across every single one of his streams. On top of that, as of July right now, we are seeing a minus 50,000 total followers for Pirate Software on Twitch alone. But it gets even worse for the guy, because according to Social Blade, we are seeing a 170,000 subscriber loss on Pirate Software over the last 30 days. In fact, you can even see day over day in the last month, Pirate Software losing tens of thousands of subscribers every single time he either goes live or even posts. And it's getting worse even more because he is consistently bleeding everybody out of his actual content. Mass unsubscribing, mass loss of viewership, reduction in actual average live viewers, everything across the board is falling apart. And this is simply because Pirate Software has refused to acknowledge the mistakes he made against the actual consumer when he was in fact the kind of person that was supposed to be for the consumer in the first place. Finally, a developer of a video game that used to work at a company like Blizzard with some reputation behind him to go through and say, hey, you should have access to your video games. This is why piracy is in fact not a real issue. Here is how you make better games for people. And everybody took it in and said, yes, finally somebody who's on the side of the people purchasing the video games. Yet he turns around and he does a complete 180 against SKG, and everybody says, what the hell's going on here? And what's kind of crazy is I kind of know the actual criticism he's going to be levying at videos like mine and others. He's going to say things like people want their pound of flesh, or they just want to do it for views. It's not that at all. It's that people like myself who liked Pirate Software's content, who enjoyed what he was doing, were finally thinking, oh God, Jesus, finally somebody who's got their head on straight can actually do some proper representation for consumers in video games, who worked in the gaming industry, who knows about game development, who we can use on our side and can be a champion for us when companies try to screw us over. This is fantastic. And then what does he do? He turns around and goes to the lobbyists. It's just... And the more disheartening part about all of that is, it really does feel like he just let a mask off the entire time, and it was all just a lie. People are not going through the guy's code in his game. They're review bombing his game. They're trying to help him on his code, and he's refusing to accept any help on it whatsoever. And the more people look into Pirate Software, the more things begin to unravel.
Well, to be fair, he probably... if game rhymes fine, that doesn't matter if code shit. Pen crit damage, maybe. Also maybe.
But the crazier part is, he could all make this go away if he just simply admitted he was wrong about SKG and just said, hey guys, look, I made a mistake. Here's what the issue was. I thought it was this, and I didn't think it was the right thing. But now after looking more into it, I was wrong. And honestly, everybody would be like, okay, cool, whatever, bro. You make a mistake, everybody does. And that would have been the easiest thing to do from the very beginning of the first criticism coming his way. But did he do that? Well,
put up a video saying you were wrong with every situation and the internet move on. I am not doing that. I don't give a... Yeah, simply bend the knee and lie about how you feel and everyone will stop bullying you. That's a great idea, dude. Yeah, no.
This blows my mind. The fact that this is how Pirate Software sees things. It's not about bending the knee. It's not about all that.
Really, come on. So I am at 76 currently. Oh.
That's right. I'm...
At least. Hey. Man.
Other bullshit It's not about you being bullied, because nobody is bullying you. They're calling you out on the lies that you have said, on the fact that you have purposely gone through and tried to stop an initiative that is directly pro-consumer, which goes totally with all the things you've said before, yet for some reason now you are actually against it. And what's even more wild is, I guarantee you that one moment where you paused and looked at chat, you were more than likely probably looking for that chatter again to ban them because he brought that up, even though directly that chatter was looking out for your best interest, because literally this could all go away if you simply admitted you were wrong. You couldn't admit you were wrong when you played World of Warcraft Classic and you had a mana ruby and you said you were out of mana. What am I supposed to do for you? Stop killing games? Yes, you were the poster child, whether you wanted it or not. You talked about how often you worked at Blizzard. You put yourself in that position. You enjoyed all the fruits of that. Yet when the rubber met the road, you totally 180'd and went against it. Now SKG is about to hit 1.4 million actual signatures. It's going to go to the EU. Things are going to happen that you are rallying against, even though you were purposely for the consumer for so many years. And that is the part that is pissing people off. That is why this downfall needs to be studied, because you are literally going through and putting a kibosh in your own career right now in front of everybody as they are looking at you through a microscope, simply because you don't want to admit you were wrong about the initial thought of what you thought SKG was. All this snowballed because you couldn't cast Blizzard in a dungeon in WoW Classic. It's shocking to me how members of the European Parliament can see this, but you cannot. People who don't even play video games can understand what is happening and the necessity for it. But the guy who worked at Blizzard for I don't know how many years and was a game dev, made his own game, can't see the forest from the trees, bro. And look, I'm gonna be real. I'm not making this video to dog on Pirate Software just because he doesn't want to apologize. I'm making this video because I was a viewer of his, and at some point I thought that he was going to be a good person to actually be part of the gaming community, to lead us to a better example of what game publishers and developers should be doing for the actual consumer. But at some point, the guy flipped the script and he did a whole 180, and that's what it feels like. It feels like he betrayed the people that he tried to go ahead and bring into his own community. And every day you're seeing his community shrink even more and more. You're seeing followers leave, you're seeing people unsub, and things are going to collapse on top of him. And all he had to do is just admit that he made a mistake when SKG first came out, and just talk to Ross of Accursed Farms and say, hey bro, what do you actually mean? And just talk it out like actual adults. But instead, we get this. An actual child. Unbelievable. I guess you know what? Once a Blizzard dev, always a Blizzard dev, am I right? But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments section down below. And while you're there, if you live in the EU, please sign the Stop.
A lot of people are mad, and rightly so, because 300 grand of their Kickstarter money is amounting to nothing. But that is actually not the real story of today's video. It's about 2 games and 1 formula. A formula that, listening to, say, Jeff Keighley at Summer Games Fest, is the big new thing. Now, one of these games has become gaming's darling. Rightly so. The other one has actually just collapsed and died. So here's what's happening. Claire Obscura, Expedition 33, has succeeded, and now everybody wants to replicate that magic formula. And that is a small team, ex-AAA talent, and a love of JRPGs. Well, you know, apply to whatever game you want to make. But here's the thing, in the very same month that Expedition 33 dropped, another game was revealed with an eerily familiar setup. A small French team, with many ex-Ubisoft developers making their dream JRPG. Just that unlike Expedition 33, that game is now dead, the studio's liquidated, and the crowdfunding backers are furious. So what the hell happened? Why did this formula fail, even though, when you look at it, the game really does look quite good? I'll give you a hint. Here's a map of Expedition 33's connections. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of chatter. That couldn't have been easy. And it's not to put them down, they're an absolutely amazing team. Their game is an unbelievable banger. And it's not like they just found a golden pot of money. You know, not only do they have a killer team, it very much seems that in Kepler, they found an exceptional publisher, one who, seeing them as an amazing team decided to back them as much as they could. Everyone won. The team won, the publisher won, and we won. It's exactly what we want to see. A publisher really acing its job. But today, you're going to see the other side of that survivorship bias, and even how a sector of games funding has fallen, literally, this is not hyperbole, has fallen by billions of dollars. Yeah, it doesn't get talked about. Most people don't even know. Meet Hazara Radiant Echoes. It's a 2024 Kickstarter project from Studio Camellia. They were a global team of ex-Ubisoft and indie devs who set out to make their dream game, they say, vibrant tribute to JRPG classics, specifically to Golden Sun and Final Fantasy X. Obviously, FF10 was a humongous inspiration for Expedition 33, and of course also to the best JRPG of all time, Lord of the Rings: The Third Age. And even better, they managed to secure Northway Sakuraba for the soundtrack. Now, he is a big name in this genre. Yes, in JRPGs. You may also know him for this little tune. It's called Firelink Shrine from Dark Souls. So you've heard his work. And looking at the game, it's a very distinct art style, based in southern France. It looks gorgeous. And if they were to pitch this game today, you would half expect them to just say, hey, you're the next Expedition 33. Money us now. Of course, over on Kickstarter, people seem to like it. They donated over €300,000, and that is far beyond the campaign's €100,000 target. It was easily one of 2024's most successful Kickstarter campaigns. Yeah, fast forward a year, and here we are with development being over. The studio broke the news via Kickstarter update, and it is a grim situation. So basically, they ran out of money, they entered liquidation April 28th, and nothing is going to be released beyond the demo trailer, which, you know, we can all go and watch and feel sad about. Unsurprisingly, the Kickstarter backers were bloody well furious. They had seen polished trailers for this game, and in a way it's almost a victim of looking so good. When you look at the trailers, it really does look like a fully formed vision that looks amazing, and people believed in the 2026 release date. These are people who thought they were backing a real game, and the thing is, they were, but they may not have understood all of the intricacies of the funding. Basically, funding goal succeeded 3 times over. Obviously, the game is going to come out. Now, Camellia did make it worse. They had late backing remain open until February, which very much made it look like, you know, in hindsight, you guys probably saw the writing on the wall, yet you were still taking people's money. And then by the time they communicated, it seems the whole thing is beyond saving. The company's in liquidation. But more than anything, this is the real disconnect. The public gave them €300,000, so how could they not deliver? How much does an indie game actually cost? So €300,000 is serious money, but it's also nowhere near enough for this game, the game that they planned. It is not enough, not even close. Now, their closure announcement did reveal a timeline where we see the development started in 2021. It was funded by personal savings, by Microsoft grants, and by angel investors. And those funds took them to basically half of their budgeted development costs. And of course, that's just development costs. There's also marketing and all the other things that they would need. So, the studio did what indies do. They went to crowdfunding, and not just for the money, but to show investor interest. You see, whenever you see Kickstarters, what I want you to keep in mind is that they're almost all, well, very often anyway, not anywhere near the full budget for a game. And to better understand this, we can take a look at a massive success. That's Bloodstained. It's an indie game from Castlevania producer Koji Igarashi, and it's set a $500K goal. That goal represented 10% of the total planned budget. And the reason why is really simple. It's to demonstrate real, tangible commercial interest. Basically, as you know, money follows money, often into a black hole where it all gets destroyed. But, right, if you're able to fund 500 grand, that's pretty damn good, because little can validate your game concept as well as actually getting backing from your target customers. Now, of course, Bloodstained wildly surpassed that goal, right? Like well over 5 million. But what matters today is that is the funding model, as is basically normal right now. And a lot of that is because for the scale of some of these games, most Kickstarter numbers that you could realistically hit are just not going to be enough money. So here with Camellia, it's essentially the same idea, but with a little bit less star power. Now let's just think through the basics here. 300,000 euro and a team of 14 people. If that was to support them through a year, that would be tough, right? It would put them well below average French wages, but across 2 years, the time that they would need to hit their 2026 release target, that's basically just not possible. And the thing is, it never was the plan. Again, Kickstarter rarely is like that. The whole point is that, well, with an investor demo, which they were building, and substantial commercial interest, that the next step would be the usual one in our industry, to secure a publisher. And for a game like this that really did have visuals that cut through, with proven commercial success, right, real-world market validation, you normally would expect a publisher to pick it up. But even with that being the normal next step, and like really them being in a pretty damn strong position with that in mind, well, the reality is these are not normal times. Okay, you've heard us talk about this stuff before in the channel. Basically, the facts are this: gaming funding is at its lowest point in 5 years. I hear this from my friends who are, like, you know, over in big AAA-ish land in the States. I hear it from people absolutely everywhere. It appears in, like, the fan tips email that we have. It's in the news everywhere. It's goddamn bad times, right? Now, take a look at this. This is from Crunchbase, and Crunchbase is a site that's all about venture capital money. And the line is not going up, guys. It's going down. And remember, this is VC, so as much as you'll see VCs actually, you know, invest into some pretty banging games, in many cases it is also the ghouls who are chasing mobile games, sports betting, crypto tie-ins, and all of that fun. So that's bad, even though that's where all of the, you know, big money is going. What if you want to make a normal video game like this one, or like Expedition 33? Yeah, good luck. It's not going to be easy, especially if it's your first published game, even if you are literally a bunch of veterans. And that's because in the current market, even proven teams with historic track records are not being able to maintain funding through 2024. The evidence for this is pretty simple. It's the massive graveyard that keeps on getting bigger week by week. Now remember that in the situation of Bloodstained, they still needed to convince investors, even though it was from, you know, a producer of Castlevania. Suffice to say, things have not gotten better since. We can talk about some hard numbers, and we're going to use PlayStack for this. You've probably not heard of them. They're a relatively new, not super talked about publisher, but they did publish Balatro and Abiotic Factor, both which did really well. So they know indie games, and speaking to game developer, they revealed something pretty damn crucial to us: that they get thousands of pitches yearly. Not hundreds of pitches, thousands of pitches, and that's just one company. And the way it basically goes is their email will consistently being minigunned with pitches, and then at, say, Gamescoms and stuff, well, they're going to be in the other side of Gamescom, the one that you can't get into with your normal ticket. That's because you got regular Gamescom, which is for, you know, consumers, it's for the marketing of games, but then you'll have the business side of Gamescom. It actually happens across different days, it's got different tickets, and basically it's a hell of a lot of just people speed dating with other people to try and make deals happen. So basically, there's a lot of people who are basically saying, hello, money me now, I want to make a video game. And in the example of PlayStack, for all the thousands of pitches that they get, they're not really publishing that many games. So success is extremely hard. It has in fact got quite a bit harder. But it isn't just a numbers game. In the interview, they say that success comes whenever developers know their market gap, which essentially is trying to go for the sort of thing that could appear to be an outsized success, something like Balatro. Now, worse still, at least for games like this, the funding quantities have also collapsed. And I'm going to directly quote PlayStack here. We are seeing budget asks into the millions. Would we prefer 4 games at 300k or 1 game at 1.2 million? Now here's the funny thing, right? Years back, I was seeing publishers pushing up budgets. Even publishers like PlayStack, actually. They were pushing up way higher budgets than that. And basically that's what we were seeing, right? There's a lot of encouraging people to aim a little bit higher, bring in more money. It was a very different time, right? It really was a time of plenty, but obviously there's a hell of a graveyard of just games that appear in Steam, and even if they have amazing reviews, they only have 300 of them, not that many sales. So what we've essentially seen is that the risk-reward math has fundamentally changed, and it's not like PlayStack come off as some pack of evil bastards. They don't seem to be the kind of publisher who are only interested in taking, you know, their cut at the expense of their developers. There's a lot of publishers who very much are that. Maybe we'll get to talk about some of those very bad deals that I know a few games have got, but can't really talk about because it breaks things that you hear in the grapevine. But man, there's a few publishers that deserve a skewering, and someday I hope that we're able to get some real documents out there so that, you know, it can be actually reported on in a way that is responsible, sourced, and helpful. Anyway, enough of that tangent, but I do want to keep in this video just so that you get a bit of a tone, a bit of a feeling of the sorts of situations that development studios end up in. There's so many situations where, you know, the public may be very furious at a development studio, but in reality, they're binded by non-disparagement agreements, and really it's the publisher that the problems are coming from. Now, PlayStack, from everything I've heard, are absolutely not one of those publishers, but even though they do appear to be one of the good actors out there, well, they still need to invest sustainably. And whenever they say, what would you rather have? One game, one big risk for 1.2 million, or 4 games at 300k? Any of us would say the latter. Indeed, when we look at the humongous game budgets out there, what do we end up saying? Man, how many good games could you have made for the cost of that bloated AAA nightmare monstrosity? And this is where we get to a problem for games like the centerpiece of today's video. There's a fundamental issue, and that is that if your game cannot get funding support in the first place, then you're not really going to be making it for anyone. It is absurdly hard to get projects off the ground. It was hard in the past, but these days it is harder than ever, at least via more traditional means. So even though Expedition 33 did absolutely amazing with a small team, a reasonable budget, a hell of a publisher being able to back them up, not everyone's able to get that publisher. It's legitimately hard. There's only so many release slots, there's only so many publishers, and whenever I flashed up the sort of connections thing for, you know, Expedition 33, that's more just to say it's kind of hard to one-shot that. You do actually need to have built up connections. So getting games off the ground is extremely hard. And if a game that is actually doing so much right by the laws of Expedition 33, you know, small team, ex-AAA, actual veterans, people involved in the project who are tied to amazing titles in the form of the musician that they've worked with, even when all of that is counting for you, when you're even market validated with real customers, real money to the tune of 3 times your asking amount on Kickstarter, if they can't do it, well, fuck, the situation was hard for everyone else. So what does it mean to you? Well, the knock-on effect is that all of this creates inherent limitations on the types of games that can be backed, right? Because if those budgets are coming down, that will actually influence what sort of thing gets made. So if you want an Expedition 33, you simply just need more money. But to get that money, well, you need proof, because people don't just hand you a big bag of money without proof. Now, ideally, maybe you'll earn enough money from the last game you made to build an investor demo for your next game. Maybe you'll eke out a few more months in tax credits or some regional government funding, things that most studios do. Expedition 33 is an example of getting regional government funding, but it doesn't always work. What's happened is that so many people have done all of this and really have reached the bar where in the market of, say, a decade ago, they almost certainly would have got published, or at the very least had far better chances. But now those goalposts have changed. Common wisdoms that were normal in the industry have changed. Funding limits have fell, even for the big, you know, big money from the money men and their, I don't know, all their money, the VCs, as reported by Crunchbase. Just look how much that has fallen. But what I told you was somehow worse than that, because it actually kind of is. You see, what's also happened is the point at which publishers are willing to commit funds has moved further and further and further and further back. There's the odd story about, you know, developers in the past having an amazing pitch for a game and somehow being able to get a deal. But nowadays it's absolutely not like that. It hasn't been like that for years, but it has just got harder. You need to be further and further and further along in your overall development process to actually get to the point where a publisher will be willing to commit funds. And that means that the sorts of lean prototypes that could have seen a team through to funding, those are often no longer enough. And sometimes sometimes publishers effectively do just want an alpha build of a game before they're willing to toss their money into the pot. And that's for obvious reasons. Gaming got into quite a bubble. We're not living in a land of just 0% interest rates for, years upon years. The finances have tightened, and the further away from launch in both presentation and content and tech, the more risk that there is. And it's kind of funny. As much as you could pull a Warren Buffett and say, be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy, well, that's kind of hard to do when it's your publisher's money, your job being on the line. Perhaps Kepler did just that. They knew that it was a pretty tight market, that a lot of others were fearful, but they saw the team behind Expedition 33 and thought, no, this is one we need to double down on. That's the thing we need to do. And maybe if more publishers were in a good enough state of financial health to do the same, that this other JRPG, made by a small team of veterans, some ex-Ubisoft, some French, just like Expedition 33, then maybe it would have survived. But as it stands, the industry has just not been able to take a well-validated game like that certainly looks to be a banger for its target audience, and systemically find the money to support it, which ultimately means that you and me are going to lose. And we only know this because, unfortunately, Kickstarter money went kaput. Now, whenever you put money into a Kickstarter, you do acknowledge that sort of thing could happen. And taking a look at this game's funding journey, yeah, people put their personal savings into it. I in no way think this is a rug pull or a scam or anything like that. I think it's that financing is fucking hard, and right now, it's harder than ever, meaning that those playing by the rules of 5 years ago are finding that they're no longer sufficient. That makes me sad, because it does mean we'll get fewer games, and the sorts of games that will be made, will look just a little bit different.
Well, it did. Unfortunately.
Asset confirmed. Preparing to move out.
By the way, keep adding dings. T. No, there shouldn't be conflicts. There are no conflicts. Because those are different modes.
Hello, I have a bone to pick with Pirate Software's website. I don't intend to be covering his mess that has been recently going on with relation to Stop Killing Games or World of Warcraft or anything else. If you need my opinion on that, if you're a European citizen, go out and sign the petition, the Stop Killing Games thing, make sure you fill it out correctly. Yeah, that's all I have to say with that. I've just had a bone to pick with this guy's website for a long while, and the general sentiment around game dev of, you should just become a game developer. Are you interested? You should become a game developer. You should just make video games. This is not to say I want to gatekeep being a game developer. This is not to say that game development is necessarily a bad thing. I am a professional game developer working for Sony Interactive Entertainment as part of Haven Studios in Montreal right now. And I also, in my free time, develop, sell, and otherwise release indie video games. So certainly I enjoy it very much. It's just a matter of, while making video games is a fun thing that I do think more people should partake in, it is certainly A, not for anyone, B, not easy, C, probably not a good career. I don't regret my decision, but if I was trying to have a stable, easy career, I wouldn't be here. So if you were to go on Pirate Software's Twitter account, as many have over the last month, you will see that the very first link in there is develop.games. If you were to click on this link at develop.games, on the top left you see V108 Chat is Stinky Edition. Now, I'm not opposed to this, but also this is a streamer in-joke and nothing related to game development, and it shouldn't be the first thing anyone sees on the first part of the screen they look at. Then there is a big game dev button, which leads to the site itself, so shouldn't be there. And then there's a game jam button. I will go back to that game jam button imminently, but before we do that, there is a navigation bar on the left, again that will be covered later, and a live Twitch dev stream of Pirate Software not developing video games. Now, I understand that you want to take some credit and benefit out of your work, and I understand that you're a game developer, at least self-styled as such, so you want to, you know, show game development happening on Twitch. The problem is, you don't stream game development most of the time from what I can tell, Jason. So, when you have this stream thing up, I would say the best thing to do for community's sake would be to have the top game dev streamer at the time, or just not have this at the top of a website that's supposed to teach people to develop video games and not promote you personally. Next up, we have that jam button I said I was going to cover. This leads to Pirate Software's Game Jam 17 on itch.io. There were 16 previous game jams, each with a lot of attendance and games actually made. So, you know what? While I'm personally against competitive jams for reasons I might go into in another video, I have to say, this man has gotten people to make video games, and that is fundamentally a thing I agree is good and nice and should be done. So I'm giving Pirate Software points on this one. However, I will draw your attention to the fact that there is a YouTube video linked by himself listed as "Can I make a video game? Yes you can," and the title's "Make Video Games." It's a 45-minute video basically going over what the website has, which I will not be covering in this one. So yeah. Anyway, so what if you were to check out Pirate Software's itch account that started this game jam? Now, if you're unaware, itch.io is a platform that acts more like a community bazaar than Steam's more organized marketplace for game developers and game jams, where you can put up whatever is even remotely related to game development, including tabletop stuff. It's a really cool platform. Anyway, on itch.io, Pirate Software's account has 2 links to the 2 games they have made, as well as game development. Now, this is not a video game. This is a page used on a game distribution site to preach that game development is doable. Once again, I don't know why Jason feels the need to consistently repeat this message of you can become a game developer. Now, if you were to run through or skip all of the fluff that is on this website that this video is about and get through the part where he describes to you how to make a video game, he opens with "Who are you?" I think this is very valid to say. I opened this video in the same way. Then goes into the skills required and basically makes the point that if you lack a particular skill, that is a way to encourage your creativity that can be worked around and should in fact be worked around. The next section is how to pick a genre. Now, in this section, instead of talking about how to pick a genre of game to make, Jason instead gives actually really useful advice of do not try to make a GTA or Call of Duty as your very first game. I am in wholehearted agreement with this statement. He also covers that with all of his previous experience, which dubious claim, he still had to make Champions of Breakfast, a month-long small project that didn't do well on Steam, as a preparation for his bigger project, Heartbound. We will go into Heartbound soon. Then there's building a team. He doesn't go into the finance section of building a team, but he does go into find people on Discord, which has been really successful in my projects. So again, cannot diss it. In the tools section, there is a crash course on which tools you can use. And in financing, this part is really interesting because he admits that Pirate Software as a game development company would not exist without the streaming income. And then he covers the basics of doing financing. Again, useful stuff, especially for an up-and-coming indie. And at the very end of this, there is a section hilariously called Scams with this image attached. Okay, sorry, I just had to. It was a shot too easy not to take. But seriously, time to cover Heartbound. Pirate Software's one big release that they have even ran a Kickstarter for successfully, mind you. So if we go on the Steam page, we will see that it is currently overwhelmingly negative. I do believe this is a review bomb, and no matter how terrible the person is, the game should be judged on its own merits. I am, however, also not going to play Heartbound because it, to me, doesn't seem like the sort of thing I would be into at the very least. I will instead go down some relevant factors that are very visible on the Steam page. For example, the release date is 24th of December 2018, that is now 7 years ago, and the game is still in early access. I imagine you know what this means. This means that the game is fundamentally not complete yet. Early access doesn't just mean this is a full game that's going to get updates. Early access means this is a game that I wouldn't press on a CD and send to people or release on console. And it has been this way for 7 years for a top-down indie RPG. I know these games take a lot of time. I was personally on An Outcry, a lovely video game that almost won a huge award that is of the same genre and took the head developer 3 or 4 years and lots of our own money to complete, but that game was completed in 3 to 4 years and almost won awards. I am not talking about Heartbound just to punch down on this now widely hated person. I am trying to illustrate a point about game development, and to fully do this, we need to go into the Heartbound Kickstarter.
No.
One thing that I also must note is that the website itself very openly states that you should only do a Kickstarter when you know you will succeed. So, assumedly, Pirate Software went into this knowing that they would succeed, and there is no shame in wanting more money for your game before it is released, because again, making games takes a lot of time, costs a lot of money, and you want to pay yourself and your staff ideally. So they made almost $20,000 out of their $5,000 goal, and that great success was backed with the promise, or estimated delivery date at least, of December 2017 for the game. If you remember that Steam page a while back, the game was never delivered on December 2017. It was in fact delivered late December 2018 and is still in early access and hence not considered a full release and not fully done. Now, we know that this happens relatively often on Kickstarter, and Pirate Software still has delivered more than many. However, the Kickstarter also never mentions that this would be an early access release, and knowing that they went into this, knowing that they would succeed and effectively that it was some extra cash for their game that was already going to get developed either way, as well as the Kickstarter page claim that their systems were complete and that their story was already written, this just reflects really badly on your studio's ability to scope out a project, make reasonable and honest promises about the deliverables, and have the capability to actually make those come to life. This has failed to some extent on all of these fronts. There is indeed a game that you can play, but it is admittedly by the developers not a complete video game yet, after 7 years. In conclusion, I'm not here accusing Jason Pirate Software of not being a game developer. He has clearly released video games. Early access video games are still video games, and there is the other one that he released. I am also not calling him a scammer for failing to deliver some of the things his Kickstarter implies about Heartbound. The reason this video was made is, while it is useful that we have a general wiki/guidebook style crash course into game development and an assurance that you can do it, all of the advice on marketing, financing, and launching your game very much implies that this is gearing the person to think that they can have a career in this, which is a different thing. It is also poor taste to use this website as a self-promotion opportunity. And Jason himself is not a game developer for his job. He's a Twitch streamer with a game development hobby. Now, this is a really cool hobby that I would encourage more people to get into. However, it is dishonest of him to act like a authority on this matter on account of he self-admits on his website that he could not make a living making video games had it not been for his Twitch channel. And so what if you wanted to be a game developer full-time as your way of making a living? Well, for you I have created this handy flowchart. I will not go over every branch of the flowchart manually. The point is that it requires a special kind of dog in you, as well as 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, and whatever else that one song says. If you are willing, able, and lucky enough to do it as a career, congratulations. However, just because you can make a video game does not mean you can make game development your career. And if you treat it like that, then it's going to treat you very badly. If you treat it like learning the guitar in hopes of maybe one day becoming a musician, but you also just like playing the guitar, then you'll have a way better time. Thank you, feel free to like and subscribe. The upcoming content will be a lot more positive and or interesting and or better produced. Thanks again.
Asset confirmed. Preparing to move out.
Alright.
Hello, most beautiful people, and welcome to this channel. Either if you are coming back or if this is your first time, welcome. I hope you enjoy the content. So let's begin. I am sure you all heard about this video. I will link it in the description. It's a Slop News Network video, and it talks about the code, the DRM in pirate safe software, or better, JSON Torhall, also known as pirate software. And he examines the very briefly the DRM, and at some point he talks about Holly. And to be fair, being the Blizzard large corporation, I don't think they were using Holly Debugger. I think they were using something more sophisticated at the time. Debugger level, kernel level debugger, better known as Ring 0 debugger, that is soft ice. This Holly, it's a Ring 3 debugger, so it's not as deep or as useful, but to use a better expression, it's not as useful as soft ice. Soft ice is that kind of the debugger that is using to break the novel, you know? But this node, Holly Debug, is something very different. And, well, the shop news is absolutely right. Pirate software doesn't even know how to implement his debugger. Is debugger present? Is debugger present is an API, a Win32 API. That is primary function, as his name points, is to catch debuggers when they are open in your environment. And that particular API, it was so common that there was a plugin developed for Holly to catch that API, so the cracker doesn't even need to go manually find the API. The plugin find it by itself. I think it was called IDS Debugger. I think it was the name of that plugin. But I want to talk about something else. Jason never clarified the kind of work he was doing at that red team. He just described himself as hacker, the umbrella, and leave it at there. What happens next? Mythology. It's what happens next. People make assumptions, and the people, when they heard hacker, they don't think about social engineering, right? They think about reverse engineer a software code. That's what people think. And I have a guess that Jason knew that. It's so much cool, right? To be a software hacker than a social hacker, right? So much cool. At least it's the perception. And that points me to a very narcissistic personality. He saw the mythology growing and never shut it down. He had plenty opportunities to do so. It reminds me cult leaders. Look, I'm not telling Jason is a cult leader. It's not that. What I am saying is that he reads the same books. It's cult leader 101. Put it something out there, a grain of truth, and then let the mythology develop. You understand? And if it suits you, shut up, don't tell anything. If it contradicts your agenda, then you step in. Be aware these kind of people. I'm a bit mad because I thought of him as being a self-taught man, you know? Someone that has not formal education in IT, as I, but with his effort, his study, his will, managed to get into the hacking scene, like me. That's what I did. And at that level, I connected with him, you know? And learning the truth, it hurts, but it's on me, not on him, it's on me. Because it was at my fingertips to know the truth. All I had to do is lead a modicum of research, and I would have learned the truth really quickly. Well, it serves me as a caution tale. Guys, that's what I was want to talk about. Please don't ask me what cracks I did, because it's a very gray area, you know. Some of those studios, some of those programmers are still active. They are still selling their their software, and I don't want to have any hassle. Despite I'm not in the scene for 15 years. I left it in 2009, I think. Look, it was like that. Back in 2002, I was in my last. Let's go back a bit. I was an heroin addict.
Alright. So you should be. Alright, we are doing the first episode of like.
Okay, so recently we found out that someone had made a Wikipedia page for TLDR, but it turns out that a lot of the information on it isn't true, and much of it is wrong in a kind of hilarious way. So given how seriously we take facts and fact-checking in our videos, we thought it might be fun to fact-check our own Wikipedia article. So let's get into it. The article starts by saying that TLDR News is a YouTube-based news organization launched in 2017 by a 23-year-old computer science graduate. Now, this is mainly true. TLDR did start in April 2017, and I am a computer science graduate, which is why I'm not allowed to write any of our videos anymore. But I was born in August 1996, meaning I would have been 20 when I started TLDR, not 23. Anyway, the article continues by naming me, Jack Kelly, and by noting that I was living in United Kingdom, which should be living in the United Kingdom, but we really can't be getting into spell checking too, otherwise we will be here forever. Anyway, TLDR News was created for people under the age of 35, with 70% of the audience being aged 18 to 34. Now, that is true. TLDR is geared towards a younger audience. I mean, many of us are young people too. But these days, those numbers aren't quite correct. In fact, if I look at them here, over the last year, 65% of our audience on TLDR Global has been under 35, 63.6% on EU, and 65.7% on UK. So it is still a majority, but it is slightly less than 70%. Anyway, I'm being picky. The article continues by saying that the organization has 11 employees, all being in their 20s. Now, obviously, we don't need one of those in theirs, but also there's some factual errors there too. We currently have 10 full-time employees with a handful more people who work on a contract basis. Also, we're no longer all in our 20s, unfortunately. As time goes on, we just get older, and this probably was true whenever I was cited as saying it, but it no longer is. Next, the article says it has annual revenue of nearly 1 million sterlings. That should be an annual revenue, and referring to it as just sterlings is very odd, but I kind of love it. Regardless, over the last year, our revenue has actually been just over £1 million, which is good news, although our costs have also increased quite substantially too, so it's a bit of a mixed bag. Anyway, we'll be diving much deeper into our finances in an upcoming video, because every year we make a video where we run down exactly how much money TLDR is making and how we're making it. So if you're interested in that, if you want to know more about TLDR's finances, then keep an eye out for a video about that in the next month or so. Next, the article says that as of 2024, TLDR News have 700,000 plus subscribers on their main channel. It seems here that they're talking about the TLDR UK channel, which was our original channel, but we certainly don't think of any of the channels as being on.
T.
I can help you ward off misfortune and disaster. Your fortune seems pretty good lately.
Man is iron, rice is steel. Are we heading out? Let me pack some food.
Pressure.
Bamboo should still be around here. Let's go let it know what's up.
There's more and more corruption residue around here. It might attract ethereals. Stay alert, everyone.
Careful, people. This one looks pretty tough. It's a superior ethereal.
Let's make this quick. Cycle of yin and yang. As decreed.
To the skies.
But I have to use ether stuff. Yeah, I know this one.
Nice. We should be able to get past now.
Soar with the wind.
Current data shows that the site of the accident is just ahead. We might find some clues there. Let's investigate.
To the skies.
Move aside! Out of my way! Out of my way!
Reality and illusion. Evil shall be purged.
Huh? Is that Dr. Lore? Isn't he investigating another area? What's he doing here? Let's go ask him what's going on.
Oh, it's time to head out.
Раз, раз. Раз, 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 раз. Наверное, так нормально. Sorry. I accidentally pressed the button. Wrongly.
Soar with the wind.
What?
Thank goodness you're here. Oh, I thought I was done for.
Huh? Dr. Lore? Weren't you investigating the outskirts? What are you doing here?
I just wanted to see if I could take a shortcut to collect some samples. I didn't expect ethereals to target me and chase me all the way here. A good thing you showed up. Whew. Right. Did you manage to find any evidence?
We ran into your bamboo. It led us to all sorts of evidence.
Great. That should be enough evidence then. I also collected a number of corruption samples to support our case. The area up ahead is where the corruption symptoms broke out. I want to collect some more samples there to make sure our evidence is tight. However, I heard ethereals over there. I think they've been roaming the area, just waiting to jump out and attack.
Don't worry. We'll head over and check it out. If any ethereals show up, we'll deal with them.
Wonderful. I'll be counting on you then.
Hello, dog.
This ethereal looks kinda off. Be careful. Let's make this quick. It might have something to do with the miasma.
Still. Scatter. Transform. Evil shall be purged.
Oh, come on.
This investigation was too risky. If it wasn't for your help, I probably wouldn't have made it back. Thank you all for helping with the investigation. We've now gathered sufficient evidence to lay out the details of the accident. Eric and the others just finished their shift and are resting outside the hollow. I'll head out and update them on the investigation. Next, we'll rally everyone to discuss how to fight for compensation from Porcelunix. Everyone from Yunquei Summit, I'm grateful for your help.
Don't mention it. We're here to investigate the incident anyway. Helping you was no trouble at all.
I really appreciate it. Your help made my plan go much more smoothly.
Your plan? What do you mean?
Well, I asked Eric and the members of the Union to formulate a plan to protest against Porcelunix. It's time to put everything into action.
And from there, we do this!
What's with those moves? Are you working on a new technique?
Huh? No, I'm making plans. Look, what if we clean this place up, replace the floor tiles, get rid of the ads on the walls and repaint them, then grow some pretty plants here? Oh, and that empty space over there! We could plant 2 rows of trees! And maybe we could even install some floor lamps along the way!
So, are you planning to renovate Swabian Temple?
That's right! Shifu put me in charge of the whole thing. Even though it's named Swabian Temple. Yeah, Swabian as in whatever works. Since we're going to be here for a while, we'll need to spruce things up a little. And not just the living area. I promised Shifu I'd get this place up and running again. We're bringing back the glory days when the temple was bustling with life.
The glory days?
I never saw it myself, but I've heard stories from the locals. Before the old capital fell, Swabian Temple used to be a busy, bustling place. But then people from Yunquei Summit left, and only a few mystics stayed behind to check the place every now and then. It's been quiet here ever since. But now that we've returned, it seems fate has reunited us with this place, and it's time to bring it back to life!
If you need help with anything, just let me know.
Alright, let's get to work. We're gonna give Swabian Temple a total glow-up and surprise everyone!
Mm-hmm. He's doing something cute. Like that. Mm-hmm.
Come on in. Take a look at the menu. Whether you're dining in or taking out, we got you covered.
All the familiar faces. Okay, I'm not gonna press any buttons right now. Time to ahead my way to whose butt. Mm-hmm. Alright.
Main channel, and this number is out of date anyway. Regardless, it also says that TLDR has 6 channels, which is technically true, but also technically we kind of have 7 depending on how you count it. Regardless, we only actively post on 5 channels at the moment, with TLDR business likely to return at some point in the future, but not really being active right now. So it's fair to say this number isn't technically wrong. You could say any number between 5 and 7, but 6 probably isn't the number I would have chosen. It then goes on to say that on those channels, we upload approximately 3 videos a day or 4 videos per channel a week. Now, this is a difficult number to pin down because the number of videos we make a week varies quite significantly. On the TLDR Daily channel, we tend to publish basically every weekday, and then we post between 10 and 14 explainer videos on the other channels. Although this number fluctuates a lot based on news cycle, our team's availability, our production workflow, all kinds of things. And which channels get those videos also varies depending on which stories we think are most important. So it's certainly not true to say that we post 4 videos on each channel each week, because sometimes there's tons on one channel and very few on another. As such, it's probably fairer to say that we post about 2 videos per day, including weekends, though even that's not really right. The acronym TLDR News stands for Too Long Didn't Read. That's true. And TLDR News is owned and operated by 326 Limited. That's also true, although it's worth noting that I own all of 326 Limited, so it's not like there's some weird third party owning us. I started the company this way just so that if we wanted to make other brands other than TLDR, they could all live under the 326 umbrella and there wouldn't be confusion about the company being called TLDR, but then us doing other things called other things underneath that company. And bonus points if you can work out why the company is called 326 Limited. Anyway, let's move on to the history section, where it says TLDR News was created in 2017 by 23-year-old computer science graduate Jack Kelly, reportedly to help young viewers understand global news. Again, I wasn't 23 at the time, and also we originally made videos only about UK politics, so I'm not sure that the global part of that is true either. One of the main reasons that Kelly started the YouTube channel is because he was disappointed in the UK's mainstream news lack of social media presence. That's true. The channel was created during Brexit, which he said have made the channel lucky and caused it to have increased following. Now, this is weirdly phrased and also contains some grammatical errors, but I do think we kind of were lucky in a way. I'm not sure I'd say it like this, where it kind of sounds like Brexit was our lucky charm or something, but we were fortunate in the timing of when TLDR started, that there was a lot of confusing news coming out of the UK that was also interesting to a big global audience. So I think ultimately it was a good time to start TLDR. It was fortunate that we started at that time, but I'm not sure Brexit made us lucky. The channel is mostly focused on audience under the ages of 35. Statistics showed that 70% of TLDR News watchers are 18 to 34 years old. I probably wouldn't go for watchers, I probably would choose viewers, and also as we've gone through, those numbers aren't quite correct anymore. The headquarters of TLDR News are located in South Bank district of London. Now, this was true at one point. We were based out of a building right by Oxo Tower on the South Bank. However, about a year ago, we moved north of the river to Clerkenwell, which is where we're based now. And if you want to know more about that, and if you want a full tour of our office, including both of our studios and the working space out there that you never see, we have that coming up in an exclusive episode of The Bullpen very soon. And I'll tell you more about that at the end of this video. The organisation of TLDR News employs 11 people, all of whom are in their 20s. It has annual income of approximately 1 million sterlings. There's so many small things here, let's just correct them all in one go. TLDR News earned 55% its money through ads and 40% through sponsorships with various companies handled by TLDR's agent Nebula. As I said, we've got a full video coming out soon about how we make our money and the exact breakdown of where all of that comes from. So make sure you keep an eye out for that for the latest numbers. But I will say that these aren't a million miles off, even if the grammar around it could do with a bit more tweaking. Other 20% revenue comes from payments for panel talk appearances. Now, while those first two numbers were about right, this definitely isn't true. We'd love to make £200,000 a year from just talking on panels, but In reality, over the last year, about 1% of our revenue has come from speaking fees and panel appearances. Although if someone does want to book us for tens of thousands of pounds, then I'm sure you can reach out over email. TLDR News has 6 other channels, like TLDR Global and TLDR EU. The channels upload approximately 3 videos a day or 4 videos per channel per week. Now this is kind of true, although calling Global and EU other channels feels a bit weird when we treat them all exactly the same. Also, this does contradict the article further up when they said we had 6 channels total. Now it's 6 other channels, presumably in addition to the main UK channel. Also, all of these numbers are wrong, as we have already discussed. From 2017 to 2020, the channel received 350,000 subscribers. That's right. The main channel of TLDR News would reach an amount of 676,000 subscribers in 2023 and over 700,000 subscribers in 2024. Now, these numbers aren't quite right. According to our statistics, it's actually 716,000 by 2023 and 827,000 by 2024. And again, using just the UK's numbers also feels a bit weird, as I've mentioned a few times. So these combined numbers might actually make more sense. In fact, speaking of combined numbers, the article continues, TLDR News has 2.5 million subscribers across all of its channels, which also isn't true. At the moment, it's about 3.64 million. TLDR News would later create their own app on Google Store for mobile devices on Android. The app allowed its users to see news in 3 sentences, which are news articles broken into only essential sentences. Now, this isn't true. I think there is a company also called TLDR that did do something like this, but it wasn't us, and it also doesn't even seem to exist anymore, so this definitely shouldn't be in here. Later, on September 14th, 2023, TLDR News would launch its newspaper, named Too Long. Too Long is 28 pages long and features various tabloid articles, written by TLDR News along with illustrations. TLDR News said that it cost $7.99 or $17.99. Now, tabloid articles does feel a little harsh, and also it's just a weird way of talking about Too Long, a project that's grown and changed significantly since then, and also doesn't cost that price anymore. It's all technically true, but it's a weird snapshot of what happened a while ago, rather than being reflective of the current. So maybe this would make more sense. In 2024, a study published by Reuters found that TLDR News is popular with young consumers in the UK, along with other YouTube-based news organisations in other countries, like Under the Desk News. That's all true. Then finally, in the content section, it says, reportedly TLDR News wants to simplify political news in their videos, with them focusing on being neutral. That's true. When making videos, TLDR News reaches out major media outlets and people for them to help in researching topics they try to explain. Now, grammar aside, this also isn't really true. I can't think of an example where we've reached out to a media outlet in order to research our videos. TLDR News searches press releases, official documents, transcripts, and records when finding topics to discuss and producing a video. Now, this obviously isn't all we do when making videos, and it's slightly odd to include, but it is true, I suppose. TLDR News is reportedly independent, with their news being described as impartial and apolitical. And this is true. We try and make our videos as neutral as we possibly can, and I still own the whole company. So we truly are as independent and apolitical as I think we could possibly be. Thumbnails of its videos use simple graphic elements, mostly featuring light backgrounds with bold text and a single word highlighted in a bright colour. Thumbnails of TLDR videos were part of a case study on January 2022 by Siebely. Now, this is broadly true. It's a little odd to mention a case study I'd never even heard of before, but I suppose it's sweet that someone's talking about my thumbnails, so I guess I like it. Reportedly, in most of the videos, hosts of TLDR will sit behind a desk and say well-planned, opinion-free, teleprompted monologue on camera, mimicking a style of BBC News. I find it funny here that it says reportedly, when surely this is something you could easily verify. I'm behind a desk right now. You could just look at this and confirm it for yourself. But anyway, I don't think that we're remotely similar to the BBC, and it's especially odd to reference the BBC specifically when, I mean, loads of news people sit behind desks. It's so much of a trope. That's why we do it too. Reportedly, TLDR News tries to make their content short to make sure their viewers save time. They also write short articles. Now, this isn't true. Besides in Too Long, we never write articles. It's not like we have a website where we publish articles too. But I suppose it is true that we do try and keep our videos as concise as possible in order to keep things easy and efficient. Videos of TLDR last for approximately 10 minutes, being uploaded on 5 different channels about different political topics. Yet another different number being cited for the number of channels we have. So maybe it just is baffling to everyone how many channels we have, given that this Wikipedia article has said 7, 6, and now 5 different channels. It published videos like how a US defense pact could end the war in Gaza, which received 190,000 views and 1,000 plus comments, or the UK election results explained, which received 1.1 million views 2 days after the 2024 UK general election. Now, both of these things are true, but it does feel a bit weird to pull out 2 totally random videos here, but fair enough, I guess. One of its videos, which discussed Hungarian politics, specifically how Viktor Orban is going to lose the 2026 parliamentary elections, was analysed by Hungarian Conservative. Now, I didn't know that this had happened, but it turns out it's true. It's just a bit of an odd line to include at the very end of our Wikipedia article about how one video was referenced by one place. But I guess, go off, Hungarian Conservative. Talk about this as much as you want. And that is the entire article. That is our Wikipedia page, it turns out. I don't know if it will look the same by the time you get there, because maybe people will make edits on the basis of this or whatever else, but I certainly hope they clean up the grammar, because it's a real mess. But while I have you, and before you go, if you're interested in this channel, which hopefully you are if you made it this deep into a stupid video like this, then I'd really appreciate it if you considered picking up a copy of our magazine, Too Long. Now, you probably heard way too
Last week, in a dramatic display in the House of Commons, Keir Starmer had to effectively gut his welfare bill after a sizable backbench rebellion. In its original form, the bill was expected to save the Exchequer about £5.5 billion by 2029 to 30. After Starmer scaled it back the first time, the savings were reduced to £2.5 billion, and following the second scale back, there's now no guarantee it will save any money at all. This puts Chancellor Rachel Reeves in a tricky position. She now needs to find ways to save £5.5 billion by 2029-30. As has been the case since she moved into number 11, she's tied her own hands somewhat, as she's still committed to meeting her fiscal rules. These state that the current budget must move into balance, so day-to-day costs are met by revenues, and that debt must be falling as a percentage of GDP by the 5th year of the forecast. Together, these rules mean that the government can't take on any extra borrowing. In addition to her fiscal rules, Reeves has also promised that she won't raise taxes on working people. The question is then, how can she close a £5.5 billion gap by 2029 to 30 without any additional borrowing or taxes on working people? Well, some people have suggested the way to do this is via a wealth tax. So in this video, we're going to have a look at who's calling for this, what the government has said about it, and ultimately whether a wealth tax could be a viable solution.
The end we're nearing with some of the iconic auteurs of the video game industry is something to think about. Hideo Kojima, which released Game of the Year contender Death Stranding.
I'm joined now by Senator John Ossoff. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thanks, man. Good to see you.
So, we have watched as the Republicans have staked so much of their credibility, so much of their identity on releasing these Epstein files. There was just a vote in the House, and all of the Republicans came together unanimously to vote against advancing this effort to release the Epstein files. Can I have your reaction first and foremost to hearing so much about this issue that they purportedly cared so deeply about, and now when they have the opportunity to actually substantiate what they said and get these files into the daylight, they're the ones who served as the major impediment to it?
Yeah, I mean, none of this adds up. And, you know, you play a supercut of all of these MAGA figures and officials promising to do this. Even the Attorney General, as recently as a couple months ago, what she was saying to the Congress about having all these files on her desk and getting ready to release them. The president's posts on Truth Social over the weekend, I think, really revealed a deep insecurity and almost a panic about the 180 that they're doing on this issue. And I think that for the president's supporters, this issue of broken promises, whether it's the Epstein files or his promise to end the wars, which are still raging, or his promise to increase U.S. oil drilling, which is declining, or his promise to lower prices, which are still rising, or his promise to be for working people when they're defunding nursing homes and hospitals and clinics to fund tax cuts for the rich, his promise to tackle the national debt, which is exploding. I mean, it's adding up, and I'm hearing it from Republicans in Georgia that all of the broken promises are really damaging the president's base and their confidence in this administration.
And that's what I wanted to dig into a little bit, because you have, the advantage of you being here is that, you know, you are a Democrat in a very purple state, but also we have the advantage of being able to see what arguments resonate with folks on the other side. I mean, you're not in a big blue bastion like New York or California. And so on this issue in particular, is this breaking through? Because I think Democrats largely viewed, you know, the Epstein part is a small piece of what is a broader theme that you've just pointed out there. But is that kind of thing breaking through to his regular base? Are you hearing from people who you wouldn't otherwise have heard from?
All right. I'm way too tired for this. It's going to be it for the stream. Good luck, fun. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.